France is inducting Josephine Baker, Missouri-born cabaret dancer, French World War II spy and civil rights activist, into its pantheon, the first black woman honored in the final resting place of France's most revered luminaries on Tuesday, a coffin carrying soils from the US, France and Monaco, places where Baker made her mark, will be deposited inside the domed Pantheon monument overlooking the left bank of Paris. Her body will stay in Monaco, at the request of her family. French President Emmanuel Macron decided on her entry into the Pantheon, responding to a petition. In addition to honoring an exceptional figure in French history, the move is meant to send a message against racism and celebrate U.S. French connections. She embodies, before anything, women's freedom, Lauren Kupferman, the author of the petition for the move, told the Associated Press. Baker was born in 1906 in St. Louis, Missouri. At 19, having already divorced twice, had relationships with men and women, and started a performing career, she moved to France following a job opportunity. She arrives in France in 1925. She's an emancipated woman, taking her life in her hands in a country of which she doesn't even speak the language, Kupferman said.
She met immediate success on the Théâtre des Champs-Élysées stage, where she appeared topless and wearing a famed banana belt. Her show, embodying the colonial times' racist stereotypes about African women, caused both condemnation and celebration. Baker's career took a more serious turn after that, as she learned to speak 5 languages and toured internationally. She became a French citizen after her marriage in 1937 to industrialist Jean Lyon, a Jewish man who later suffered from anti-Semitic laws of the collaborationist Vichy regime. In September 1939, as France and Britain declared war against Nazi Germany, Baker got in touch with the head of the French counterintelligence services. She started working as an informant, traveling, getting close to officials, and sharing information hidden on her music sheets, according to French military archives. Researcher and historian Jérôme Latang said Baker lived a double life between, on the one side, the music hall artist, and on the other side, another secret life, later becoming completely illegal, of intelligence agent. After France's defeat in June 1940, she refused to play for the Nazis, who occupied Paris, and moved to southwestern France. She continued to work for the French resistance, using her artistic performances as a cover for her spying activities. That year, she notably brought into her troupe several spies working for the Allies, allowing them to travel to Spain and Portugal. She risks the death penalty or, at least, the harsh repression of the Vichy regime or of the Nazi occupant, Latang said. The next year, seriously ill, Baker left France for North Africa, where she gathered intelligence for General Charles de Gaulle, including spying on the British and the Americans, who didn't fully trust him and didn't share all information. She also raised funds, including from her personal money. It is estimated she brought the equivalent of 10 million euros to support the French resistance. In 1944, Baker joined a female group in the Air Force of the French Liberation Army as a second lieutenant. The group's logbook notably mentions a 1944 incident off the coast of Corsica, when Senegalese soldiers from colonial troops fighting in the French Liberation Army helped Baker out of the sea. After her plane had to make an emergency landing, they brought the shipwrecked to the shores, on their large shoulders, Josephine Baker in the front, the logbook writes. Baker also organized concerts for soldiers and civilians near combat zones. After the defeat of the Nazis, she went to Germany to sing for former prisoners and deportees freed from the camps. Baker's involvement in politics was individual and atypical, said Benetta Jules Rosette, a leading scholar on Baker's life and a sociology professor at the University of California, San Diego. After the war, Baker got involved in anti-racist politics. She fought against American segregation during a 1951 performance tour of the U.S., causing her to be targeted by the FBI, labeled a communist, and banned from her homeland for a decade. The ban was lifted by President John F. Kennedy in 1963, and she returned to be the only woman to speak at the March on Washington, before Martin Luther King's famed "I Have a Dream" speech. Back in France, she adopted 12 children from all over the world, creating a rainbow tribe to embody her ideal of universal fraternity. She purchased a castle and land in the southwestern French town of Castelnaud-la-Chapelle, where she tried to build a city embodying her values. Toward the end of her life, she ran into financial trouble, was evicted and lost her properties. She received support from Princess Grace of Monaco, who offered Baker a place for her and her children to live. She rebuilt her career, but in 1975, 4 days after the triumphant opening of a comeback tour, she fell into a coma and passed away from a brain hemorrhage. She was buried in Monaco. While Baker is widely appreciated in France, some critics of Macron question why he chose an American-born figure as the first black woman in the Pantheon, instead of someone who rose up against racism and colonialism in France itself. The Pantheon, built at the end of the 18th century, honors 72 men and 5 women, including Baker. She joins 2 other black figures in the mausoleum, Gaullist resistor Félix Éboué and famed writer Alexandre Dumas.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.